everyone, and welcome back to Poppy Seed Mini. Today is the day. I've finally finished making the cafe, and I can't wait to share how I did it. One of the cool things about this build is I designed it to fold up when you're done playing with it. Who's into saving space? I'm also going to incorporate some of the elements from the Make It Mini food balls, like the little white tables from the diner balls. They really come in handy. So let's get crafting. And I'm sure we'll end up opening some more surprise balls. So the first thing you're going to do is cut a 23 by 15-inch piece of foam core board. On the back side of the foam core board, you're going to cut through only the first piece of paper on the back side of the board. So this is like scoring your foam core board at the 6-inch mark. And then you're just gonna snap that open like so. The next thing you're gonna need to do is print off the wood print flooring. Cut off the white sides, and if I can get close here, you see how this spot kind of has a small piece and this spot has a small piece? I'm going to notch both of those pieces out so that when I put the two pieces of paper together, the pattern is going to look more complete. So your piece should look like so. First, I glue on the full sheet of wood paper. Now, you don't have to use the wood floor. You can pick whatever you want, but this is what I'm using, and this is what will be on my website. Well, I think I notched out the wrong side because I'm not happy with how this side is lining up. So I'm going to take and notch out the two pieces here and here, and then lay it on that way. To get our printables, visit our blog at poppyseedmini.blogspot.com. The link is in the description box below. Cover the whole floor in the wood flooring using that same technique. So when it's all finished, it should look like this, and then it should be able to fold up like so. So the foam core boards I'm working with today are 30 inches long by 20 inches wide, and they are about 3/16 thick. So they're not quite 1/4 of an inch thick. Take one of your scrap pieces from the floor you just cut and cut a 6-inch by 17-inch piece. I'm going to be using this white pearl paper as my wallpaper for all my walls. I'm going to take my piece of scrapbook paper and I'm going to cut it in half at the 6-inch mark. So then I should have two 12 by 6-inch pieces. And I'm going to take one and glue it onto my side. Since you know that your board is 20 inches tall, you can cut off 3 inches from the top to give your 17-inch height. Next, I draw a line at the 15-inch mark and then cut across it. This is going to be my back wall. All right, now I'm taking the second half of that board, and I only need a piece that is 17 by 14 and 5/8. So I'm going to trim off that little bit of extra. I'm also going to score this board on the back side at the 6-inch and 1/4 mark. Remember, to score foam core board, you're just cutting through that first layer of paper. And then you're going to snap it open like so. Next, I glue on my wallpaper. Oop, and I make sure my pattern is going the same direction as the wallpaper I put on my other wall. I'm going to take that leftover 6-inch piece of paper and finish wallpapering this wall. Make sure to match up your pattern if your paper has a pattern. Flip it over and trim off the extra paper. All right, your last piece of foam core board is going to be cut at 23 3/8 by 17. On the back side of this board, you are going to mark and score at the 15-inch mark. And snap. There we go. All right, so now you should have an 8 3/8 flap and a 15-inch flap. Now this 15-inch piece is going to be your storefront. I found this piece of plexiglass in the stained glass section at Hobby Lobby. It was $1.29 for an 11 by 14-inch piece. And I'm going to use this for my storefront window and door. So I'm going to place it on the board and I'm going to make sure it's centered. So I should have about 2 inches on either side. And I want about 3/8 up from the bottom. And then I'm going to draw around and cut out the hole. Cut it out very carefully. I'm using a fresh blade in my knife so I get a smooth cut. Once it's all cut, and make sure to be very careful in the corners so that they're all cut out. Like this one's still holding a little bit, so I'm just going to go in there and kind of cut both ways. There we go. And it should, oh, maybe that's not what was holding. There, got it. All right. So now you should have a perfect place to put your plexiglass. So now I should be able to insert this. And it fits like a glove. The next thing I did was I took a piece of poster board and I drew around my plexiglass onto the poster board. And then I drew where I wanted my window and where I wanted my door, and I did an upper window across. So this is my pattern to then use to cut out my paper that I'm really going to use. I wanted a pop of color for this part, so this is kind of a mint green that I'm going to go with. Now, it's not as big as my poster board, so I don't have a 14-inch piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over, and I'm also going to flip this so that when I flip it back and it's cut out on the correct side, the door is on this side because I'm going to have tables and chairs over here in my cafe. All right, I'm going to line this up, and then I'm just going to use my poster board as a guide. Now I did basically 1/4 inch lines. So there's like a 1/4 inch on this side, and then there's 2/4 of an inch between the window and the door. So then there's a 1/2 inch between the door and the wall so that you get the illusion of the door frame and the frame that's going to hold the door. Right, I'm going to cut it here and this line here. There we go. So I've got my pattern, and I'm going to use my ruler because who knows if I really got those straight. So I'm just going to make sure that when I'm cutting, I'm using my ruler. Line up your pattern on your next sheet of 12 by 12 scrapbook paper. Now mine's a little thin for my taste. I would prefer more of a cardstock, but I ended up with, because of wanting this color, I'm going with a thinner paper, but I think it'll work out okay. Okay, so I've got my box, and then I know that all my lines around the box should be 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to use my straight edge for this. It just makes it so much quicker than trying to draw around that flimsy paper. And we got our top piece. All right, so now I've got my plexiglass here, and I'm just going to peel off the first side of plastic. Now I'm going to take my piece, and I'm just going to see if it works to use my glue stick again. Very important to get all those little edges. All right, and then we're going to stick this on. All right, and then we've got our next little piece. I'm just gonna put this on top. There we go. Now, if you want more dimension, you can take some of your cutout pieces and build up some, create boxes and maybe some more levels on the paper to make it look more realistic. All right, so now you need your piece back, and I'm putting it down. So this is the back side, and it folds like so. See how the folds on this side? All right. Then I'm going to take my piece of plexiglass with our window details on it, and I'm pulling off, there's a second sheet of protective plastic on this, just so that we didn't scratch it. So then I'm going to fit it into my hole. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my fine tip glue gun, and I am going to glue in strips of 1/4 inch foam core board around the entire perimeter. I'm also going to take another strip, and I'm going to put it right across that top piece here. I'm also going to glue in a piece here and here. I'm not sure about today, but eventually I'm going to come back and make this like brick wall and maybe an awning and a fancy door. I'll add more details later. I'm going to cut my next piece of wallpaper for my 8 3/8 inch wall, and then glue that in place. Now, because I'm using 12 by 12 inch scrapbook paper, I'm not getting the whole wall covered because it's a 17 inch wall. So I'm going to take another sheet of scrapbook paper. I'm going to add this striped pearl paper below all of my other wallpaper that I've already added in. All right, for this next part, I'm going to glue my back wall to my floor. Now, this is the part of the floor that's going to fold up. That's 6 inches. So you're gluing on the back side of that piece. I'm also going to build a shelf across this back wall. So I'm going to put that in right after I get this wall glued on, because that way I have plenty of space to build it. So I have also cut 4 1.5 inch by 5 3/4 inch pieces. The nice thing about this is it's really going to stabilize and square up your back wall for you. Okay, next I'm going to glue in this 15 by 5 3/4 inch piece. Now, if you want this to be a certain color or anything special, this would be the time to cover it. I think I'm just going to leave mine white for now. I can always come back and decide if I want it a pop of color or something. I cut a 2-inch by 15-inch piece. And I'm going to cover it with this marble contact paper that I got at the dollar store. Peel down a small portion of the contact paper after cutting it to the size you need and line it up on the top side of your foam core board. And it can be lifted and readjusted if you need to. Then pull away more of the back side and stick it down. Then you're going to pull off the rest and wrap it around that front edge. And it'll have a nice, clean front countertop edge. Ooh, that's really cute. All right, then you're going to glue it on. I'm testing the height of my back wall and side walls, and I'm realizing I made the back wall about 1/4 of an inch too high. So I'm going to cut that down. Now that this is cut down to the perfect size, I'm going to add my wallpaper. I'm going with the same theme I've kind of been sticking with. This is that pearl paper, but it is the polka dots. I really like the polka dots. They're so cute. So I'm just going to glue that on like I've been doing with all the other wallpaper. I've also created a printable cabinet door for the back countertop. So let's cut that out and put it on. You'll need 2 copies of this. It is way easier to do this step ahead of time. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that before. But I hadn't made up my mind on what I wanted to put here, so oh well. The next thing I'm going to do is add in some shelves on either side of the counter. To build the shelf, the first thing you're going to need is a 10 3/4 by 1.5 inch piece. Put your ruler on one side of the board and score into your foam core board. So that's cutting but not all the way through at the 3-inch mark and again at the 6-inch mark. And then create 2 of them. The next thing I did was cut 2 3.5 by 1.5 inch pieces out of recycled plastic from an old Barbie box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip these in between the foam core board where I cut the slits. So we need one at the 3-inch mark. And one slipped in at the 6-inch mark. Okay, so next you're going to take a 3-inch by 3/4 inch piece and you're going to mark on the bottom of this piece 1/4 on either side. And then to get a arched shape, I use my little table piece as my pattern, and I'm just going to draw around the table, creating an arch like so. Now, what I'm going to do is cut it out with my knife. Now, be very careful to try to cut straight down and not angle, because an angle cut is not what you want. And make sure you have a fresh, sharp blade when you're doing this. Because if you don't have a fresh, sharp blade, you probably won't get a good cut. And the likelihood of shredding your foam is highly likely. And there we go. There's our cute little arch. Now I'm going to take my second 3 and 3/4 inch piece. And I'm going to use my first one as my pattern so that I have the exact same arch on both sides. Next, I'm going to glue my arch across the top of my shelves. You're just going to glue the shelves in on either side of the countertop. Once the shelf is glued in, I add 2 1/4 inch strips on either side to cover up the exposed foam core board edge. And we're done with the shelf. I think we need something like a logo right here. So let's add that. I went on my computer real quick and designed a logo for Poppy's Cafe. So we're just gonna stick that right in the center between these 2 shelves. And there we go. How cute is that? I'm so excited about these clear glass shelves. I think they are going to look amazing with our little tarts and cheesecakes displayed in there. Look at how cute is that? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is stick the 2 back walls together. So because I want this thing to accordion, like fold together when it's all finished, I need to put something here that's going to allow it to fold. For now, I'm just going to use a piece of this contact paper. I'm not 100% sure it's sticky enough, but I know it's kind of that thick plastic that I need that's going to be durable enough to hold together. I probably should be using duct tape, like a white duct tape would be perfect for this, but I don't have it, so I'm improvising. So I'm just gonna peel the back side of that contact paper off and lay it across the seam. Like so. And then I'll just trim off that little extra on the bottom. Okay, so here's my verdict on my contact paper. Because it's dollar store contact paper, it's not sticking as well as I'd like it to. But you know what? It's okay because I can replace it with my duct tape when I get it. So for today, we're just going to use this because it does serve the purpose of folding opened and closed really nice. So we're going to work with this. Now for the exciting part. Let's glue this together. Okay, so I'm only gluing the bendable 6-inch part to the build. Everything else has to be not glued, okay? All right. And for all of those out there who wanted me to get protective little things for my fingers, I finally went and bought them at the dollar store. So let's stick these babies on because the likelihood of me burning my finger when I'm gluing these builds together, highly likely. All right, I'm going to get as much glue as I can on this side here because this is going to be my main contact point. Stick her together and see how this goes. All right, I think it worked. Watch the magic happen. So we can fold out our main wall and drop our floor down, and we have a room. Look at that. That's pretty awesome. And then when we're done playing, we can fold her up and squeeze her down to about 7-inch storage by 17. So I think that's pretty cool. For my last side wall, I decided I really want it to flap open as well so that I can get behind it. So I am going to take my 2-inch ruler and I am going to score this wall as well. right through the wallpaper. So that's just going to get glued right down to the side cabinet here. I'm also going to add my little logos to the front door. I've got one for both sides. All right, to make my countertop, I'm starting with a 6 by 10-inch piece of foam core board. And believe it or not, I'm still working with the same 3 boards that I started with, but we'll see, I might have to cut into a 4th board here. So I'm going to cut a 6 by 4-inch piece out of the side of this. So next I'm going to take 2 8.5 by 2.5 inch pieces. And I'm going to score into them at the 1.5 inch mark. Don't let your ruler shift while you're doing this. And at the 3-inch mark. Then I mark a line on the back side of my counter so I can see where to line up my board. And I'm going to take my 8 by 2.5 inch piece. My score marks are on the inside of this, and I'm going to glue it right along that line. I'm also going to add a titch of hot glue on this inner seam. Then I'm going to take the other piece. Here's my score marks on this side, and I'm going to glue it to the other side. I'm going to glue a 6 2/2 inch piece to the far side. Next, I'm going to take 2 pieces of clear plastic that I have cut to 5 3/4 by 2.5 inches, and I'm going to slip them into my scored pieces, just like I did with the shelving. Slip in the first piece and then the second. All right, then I'm going to take a 5.5 by 2 inch piece, and I'm going to glue it right into the bottom here so that it'll create the bottom of our display case. And we'll have a little storage underneath here. I also cut a 3 3/4 inch piece to glue in. I'm also going to take a 5.5 by 1/2 inch strip and glue it in across the top like so that I have something to glue to up above when I put in the rest of the glass. Or fake glass because I'm using recycled packaging, but I did end up trimming down my glass shelves. I just trimmed about 1/8 of an inch off and then slid them back in, and they fit much better. All right, we're gonna have to interrupt this build for a moment because I need some plastic, and that means we're gonna have to unbox this. So, the whole reason I bought this Barbie set was because I wanted this mixer. Because one of these days, I am going to have a beautiful Barbie kitchen, and I can't wait to have a little mixer sitting on the counter. Now you can hit the button and it spins, and it's got the cute little mixing bowl that sits in there. So yeah, super excited about this one. I'll add a link in the description box below if any of you are interested. It also comes with a super cute doll. It's got all these different accessories for making banana bread. It's got, yeah, that's a little off scale for me, but still some fun kitchen stuff. A cat, which I don't quite understand the cat since you're cooking. And then this oven that's, oh, a little small for me. We'll build a new one. Anyway, whole reason I bought it was for the mixer. But now we have our plastic to build our display counter. So we have a 6 by 8.5 inch piece of recycled plastic from my Barbie box. We need to fold it at the 2.5 inch mark. So I'm just going to run the back side of my knife across this and then fold where you've scored it very carefully. All right, and then I'm just going to glue this down to the front and across that back bar. To cover the glue marks that I've just made, I'm going to take strips of 1/4 inch pieces of cardstock and glue that on to cover everything up and make it look nice and neat. For the countertop, I cut a 3 inch by 4.25 inch piece. I'm going to glue cardstock along the edge so that I have a nice edge to wrap my contact paper around, because I'm going to use that marble countertop again. Then I'm just going to wrap it with my marble countertop. Then we're just going to glue it on to our cabinet. All right, to make your booth, the first piece you're going to need is a 7 by 12 inch piece of foam core board. And then I cut out a piece of fabric that is about 1/2 inch larger around all the sides. But before I put that piece of fabric on, I am going to measure 3 inches down and draw a guideline. Then I'm going to take this strip of fabric and I'm going to make sure I cover that guideline and below it. There's a gap between the top of the booth and the seat of the booth, so this will cover that up. And I'm just going to glue across the back here. And I'm going to fold the corners in like a package. Now, I'm going to take my edge and fold it over and then stick it on so that I get a clean edge here. The next piece you'll need is a 3 inch by 12 inch piece and more fabric to wrap this one. Place your piece on your fabric, and I guess I'm going to start with the side. Oop, glue stick alert. There we go. Glue that. I like to trim off the extra. I'm going to fold in the corners again. Fold it up. Just like wrapping packages for Christmas. You're going to glue it down to the top half of this. Next, you'll need a 12 by 2 3/4 and two 2.5 by 2 3/4. Glue your side pieces to the back of the large piece. Then you'll glue fabric around your leg as well. This is the part that's going to glue to the other side of your bench, so make sure this is glued in really well. Cut off extra fabric and glue the edges up. All right, once you've got everything glued on, you're going to glue it to the bottom front of your booth. So for this part, you'll need 3 more 12 by 2 3/4 inch pieces. Glue all 3 of the pieces together. Then I'm going to take my fabric and wrap it around the sides again, starting with that front edge. Okay, glue the back side up next. Now I want my front corners to fold so that the crease is like so. And there's a few layers to glue, so I'm just kind of touch everything with the glue and then fold it down. And then I'm really not worried about that back fold looking the same, since it'll be hidden. Fold this down and glue it smooth, and then I'll just trim this extra off. All right, do the same on the other side. So the last thing you're going to do is glue down the seat. You can add a little more glue on the inside to reinforce it. Ta-da! So I want to make a table using the top from our little tables that come in the diner balls. So let's make a new table stand for this. I'm going to use this 3/8 inch dowel, and I'm going to cut it at the 3.5 inch. I'm using my bear saw for this. I really like this one. I have not liked every saw I've used, that's for sure. All right, so I've got my table leg cut, and I'm going to take the end that I cut because, I mean, me getting a straight cut. Anyway, so here's my straight cut from the other side, and here's my cut. And on my cut, I am going to take strips of 1/4 inch paper, and I'm going to wrap it around and glue it around the top of this pole. The point is to make this round enough to fit into here so that they'll stick together. So I started out with a little wood glue, but I'm just going to use glue stick to stick the rest of the paper together. Okay, let's check this out. Nope, I'm going to need just a titch more paper on here. I want it to have a bit of a snug fit. For the base of the table, I found these wooden cutouts on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description box below. I'm going to use 2 of the biggest ones, 2 of the medium-ish ones, and 2 of these smaller ones to create a nice base for our table stand. I'm just going to glue all this together using some wood glue. All right, let's let that dry. Take your stand and add a little more wood glue. And stick that in place right in the center. All right, now that it's all finished drying, I'm going to go paint it white. All right, so my table leg is painted. I did paint about 3 coats of paint on this, and I sanded in between with a sander, so I got a really nice finish. I just used acrylic white paint. And then you just pop the top right on like so. I made a set of 2 for my cafe. I'm going to take 3 more of those wood cutouts. These are the biggest ones. And I'm going to glue these together for the base of my chair. So for the leg of my chair, I've taken my 3 discs, stacked them together, and painted them white. And I'm going to take and hot glue one of the white stands down. All right, so I'm using my glass dome from my diner balls as my seat. I'm going to measure about 1 1/4 inch from the knob, And that is where I want the edge of my plastic to sit on this. I'm just going to mark a little line as a guide. For this next part, I'm going to use super glue, and I like to get the gel control super glue. Works really great, doesn't run away from you or get all over the place. So because I'm doing plastic on plastic, I'm going to use my super glue this time. Now I'm just going to take my super glue and very carefully line the rim. Like I said, this is my gel super glue, so it's just going to sit there. It's not going to run off or anything. All right, and then I've got my chair. I'm just going to line it up on that dot. And you're probably going to have to hold it for a little bit. To finish off the chair, I'm going to take a 3.5 by 4 inch piece of fabric, and I'm going to fold it in half like so. Then I'm going to stitch around the edge, leaving a gap here so that I can turn it right side out. All right, once I've got it sewn, I just clip the corners. And then turn it right side out. It always helps to have a tool to poke out the corners. All right, add some fluff. And then once you've got it filled, sew or hot glue the seam closed. Then I just set it in my little dome seat like so, and then it'll match the benches. All right, so now we can add in our countertop and our booth. We've got our tables and our chairs. I thought it'd be fun to make some extra tall cake stands. So I'm also going to take a couple of these, glue them together, paint them white, and glue them to the bottom of my cake stand. Now we need to add in our desserts. We can add in our cheesecakes and some tarts. We have our pies that we can add in. I felt like a cafe needs an espresso maker, so we can add an espresso maker in. But I'm going to have to teach you how to make it another day. We can add some to-go boxes that have our cafe logo, Poppy's Cafe. We can also add some extra desserts in the bottom of the display case, using some of our tall stands to create some fun levels. But I need some more stuff for this part of my display case. So let's open some extra balls. All right, it's time to check out some more Miniverse Make It Mini food. Now these are not the same balls that I opened last time. These are the blue ones, so they're a little bit smaller, and they're called the Cafe series. So let's check this out. All right, the one we're checking out today is called Good Morning, and it comes with a little tray that's going to be perfect to fit into our display case. And these are little cinnamon rolls. Oh, how fantastic are these? You guys, the Cafe series is definitely just as cute as the Diner series. So we can add those onto our tray. Even the bottom is cute. Oh. Now, as you've been getting to know me, you know I don't like to use the resin, so I'm just going to leave mine as caramel rolls right now and slip them into my display case. Here is another one that comes with the little tray. Yes, I pre-opened some of these. Sorry, guys. And they come with oh, they're little donuts. Oh, they're so cute, you guys. Put those in our little tray here. Now, these ones come with these adorable little sprinkles. So we're definitely going to decorate these. Because I don't like to use resin, I'm just whipping up some mixture with clear Elmer's glue, white acrylic paint, and a little magenta acrylic paint to create a pink glaze. All right, so you're just going to spread on the glaze or the frosting or whatever we're calling this. And then sprinkle on your sprinkles. These are so good. Look at that. Fun little donut. And then you'll just let it dry. Let's just add those in to our display case. I'm going to add this cash register from the Zuru surprise balls. I believe these are the ones that come with the toy store stuff. Right there on the counter. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out some of our other videos. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And have fun crafting!